can leverage that integration. So first of all, we have completely configurable workflow processes throughout the sales and service and account management components of SalesPlace. So organizations are able to set up serial and parallel processes comprising of a number of phases and tasks. And within each of those processes, there are a number of things. There's approval capabilities. So within each workflow process, any phase can be added or configured a workflow process with serial or parallel approvers in order to progress a sale or to close out a service request, and those are contextual based, so it's going to maybe go to a particular, it's going to identify a manager or the primary sales rep or the next phase assignee, and all the escalations and notifications that go out from this process, again, directly into the notes, mail, and calendar. Additionally, escalations, if processes aren't being completed on time, right, are also available in GBS SalesPlace. So, you know, making sure that the current, you know, person is notified ahead of time to make sure that they know it's in their calendar and they have to do it, and then making sure any responsible people understand when certain processes aren't being completed in a timely manner. As well, when workflow processes are specific phases or processes are completed, in the completed action section, we can also configure the various people who need to be notified on completion to receive such notifications as well. Now, specifically on the service side of things, again, what we want to make sure is that an organization can configure their processes effectively without adding any additional administrative burden. This isn't supposed to be, you know, multi-clicks and manual. First of all, that's an administrative burden on the users, and second of all, those things tend to slip through the cracks and affect the bottom line of the service itself. So GBS SalesPlace allows you to create all sorts of automatic email templates, picking fields from all over SalesPlace to add into those templates, and picking and setting up and configuring when those notifications should go out, whether that be internally, whether that be externally to the customer. And obviously we can set up working hours, you know, and all sorts of escalations, again, internally to make sure that as a group internally we're working together and everybody knows what's happening, okay, and when it's happening. And again, the key here is that all of this comes to the user as opposed to the user having to go get that information. But just as importantly is that all of that information is actually actionable by the user so that they can you know, action on that information. And even from a perspective of scheduling reports to specific managers or line of business people about the types of things that have happened in the previous week. Again, all of that information goes directly into the Lotus Notes mail and calendaring system. So I guess the last productivity trap, fourth productivity trap that we want to look at is obviously reporting. Again, reporting can be a burden, and particularly on the note side of things. What we have, though, is a best-of-breed notes reporting tool integrated directly into the CRM that enables people to go into live data and report in the way that users want. So we're really enabling you to unlock that business value of that notes and domino data. We have a very sophisticated dashboard reporting tool that enables, you know, business users to really create and modify real-time. It's contextual visual information, and those are interactive dashboards, charts, tables, pivot tables, and there's even embedded analysis capabilities so that people can perform that on-demand analysis. And that is the type of reporting that users, especially on the executive and management teams, demand today. So if we have a look into the CRM system itself again here, at any point in time in the SalesPlace system, you can launch a specific dashboards. And the dashboards actually, I've brought up an example here so we can see actually launch in a separate window, but actually launch directly in the Notes client. And they can be launched directly from the SalesPlay system. So that means the executives and the line of business managers do not have to go to some separate system, okay, to get reports. And this enables us, because it's a notes-based reporting tool, to be able to bring in information, not just from the CRM, but from any note system, and bring those to the dashboards that are available in the CRM system. And it enables us to bring in dashboards from multiple different databases into one single dashboard interface. You can see with the example here, we've got a couple of dashboards that come out of the opportunities information. We've got a dashboard down here that comes out of the leads type information, and a dashboard down here that comes out of the activity information. So we can bring reporting information from multiple areas of the CRM and bring it together, okay, into one system. And you can see there's some tremendous flexibility here. So, you know, you can look at creating pivot tables, and, you know, a user is able to, for example, filter down and through that pivot table on the fly. Again, and they can add other, you know, filter type categories as they go through and modify that on the fly. If you look at particular reports, such as this, it provides, for example, drill down. So if I wanted to drill down into a particular month to see the breakdown of the sales, I could do that, and it will break the sales down for me by user. If this isn't the way I want to visually look at that, obviously we can change how that information is visualized just with the click of a button. If I want to look at the forecast and I want to, you know, bring a filter into play and narrow it down on a particular product on the fly, again, there's a wizard type interface where I can actually apply this filtering immediately and get that filtered information in that same type of visual report on the fly. Now, what's really powerful about this system is that, again, I can apply a number of filters and formats to a particular dashboard and save them, so that when I run this dashboard report on an end, I can actually apply that information, and then it just provides me with the same report, except it automatically applies a filter so that I only see the north region. And I can have a number of layouts available to me for every type of dashboard report. Additionally, what makes this even more powerful is underneath all of this data that's represented in a visual format for the business user, underneath is all of the data that actually makes up this report. And again, in the dashboard tool itself, there's some capabilities to do some very simple analysis here before I show you the more in-depth component, where I can drag and drop this information around. I can create summaries of that information so that I can look at that information in more detail. I can apply a filter to this data. If I then want to look at the underlying data in the CRM from which this report is built, what's even more powerful is that every single line entry in the data underlying the system is actually linked to the underlying data in the CRM system in the notes database. So if I actually want to drill down and look at that particular opportunity, I can do that just with the click of a button, and then I can actually return at any point in time to that report. Now, additionally, at any time, you can actually do some more sophisticated analysis even here. So at any time, I can actually launch what we call the analyzer, and the analyzer actually takes this information from here and brings it over into a more sophisticated analyzer capability. So again, this is the same you know, forecast report that we were looking at earlier, and it brings in all of the data, and it brings in, you know, that initial chart. So you may have remembered before that I could drill down and do a month, but here, if I want to add an additional drill down, for example, I can just drag the source down onto the x-axis to add an additional drill down, and then my report, I can drill down into the month, and then I could actually even drill down into a sales rep and look at the source behind where they were getting those information. So I can add that additional layer of analysis, even in a graphical format, on the fly in this analyzer as a business person. Additionally, I can then take this information and I can build additional types of analysis. So if I also want to now take this information and create a new pivot table, it's all a very drag and drop type system here. So if I bring my primary rep over here and I grab my estimated value and I want to break that down by product and by source, right? I'm creating this pivot table on the fly, and it's actually based on the live data that's in the CRM system. It hasn't been exported into a spreadsheet and then manipulated, and it's not going to be out of date in 2 days. I can click a button and rerun the same report and get the same pivot table 48 hours from now, and all of the data inside of it will be based on the live data in the system, and I can do that on a notes system. So this is an extraordinarily powerful tool. It also enables you at any point in time to take this information and take a snapshot of that and bring it out into Excel or into a visual type format that I could potentially share with other users across the organization as well. So you can see that the ability of the end users to have reporting that's accessible in the CRM, so they don't have to go dig up and find it somewhere else, and that actually provides reports that are in sync with the notes data and also respect the security model of that notes data so it doesn't have to be remodeled in some other data warehouse or reporting system. We have these best-of-breed reporting tools integrated directly into that notes CRM system. So again, the last productivity trap that we look to address in SalesPlace is obviously accessibility. Now, in today's day and age, obviously people do need mobile accessibility, but we still find for distributed sales forces that users there's still a huge demand for offline access. People spend a lot of time in planes and on airports and in areas where they can't get reception, subway, trains, et cetera, et cetera. When they're in those areas, especially for a sales force, we want to make sure that they still have that accessibility to this notes data. So, obviously anybody that works a lot with notes does understand that SalesPlace completely leverages the offline capability of the notes client. And there are innumerable benefits with this, but first and foremost is the fact that replication is a secure, reliable way of taking data offline, and hands down is better than any other offline type systems on the market today. But one of the challenges with it is often for users is that that replication engine in notes isn't always usable for your everyday field representative. So in SalesPlace, what we've actually created is an actual wizard for the users themselves to set up their offline replication without having to go through the complications of using that replication engine. So they can look at the individual components available to them in the CRM system, and they can set up a schedule for that replication to happen. And when they've done so and set it up, our system automatically updates the replicator engine in their native Lotus Notes client, creates all those replicas for them on their local device, and the user, it all happens in the background behind the user. So they can be productive and they can have the tools to make themselves productive. Now, additionally, the GBS SalesPlace has a cutting-edge BlackBerry component, and that is a Java client. So it's not a web version.